Hello, everyone. Would just like to speak to you briefly today. I know it's a little soon for my video, but felt it's getting close to the election, so this really needs to be said. Um, about Kamala Harris. Um, she's a great person. I like her personally. Um, she's a very beautiful woman. She's got a great voice, very beautiful voice, very lovely. Except when she's harshly criticizing Biden. She was attacking him during the Democratic debates, and she didn't sound very pleasant at all then. But like I said, she's very beautiful, has a very beautiful voice. Um, for some people, certain people, that might be enough. That might be all they need. That's all they need. That's enough for them. A beautiful voice and a beautiful face, and um, they don't need anything else. But when it comes to candidates for public office or government positions, substance is incredibly important. So important to have substance. And what is the substance of Kamala Harris's viewpoints, her worldview, her outlook? What is the substance? Um, well, we have to take a look at her voting record, and we have to take a look at her personally, her interactions with others. We have to look at the whole package. We have to look at the whole picture. And for example, you have to look at voting record, just for example. And she has voted very consistently, far to the left, far to the left of Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders is a self described socialist. So, what we can gather from that is that Kamala Harris, too, is a socialist. She was to the left of Bernie Sanders. She has a perfect voting record. She has a perfect, the Democratic people who make all the rules and decide what's democratic, scored her, and she scored a perfect 100 a couple of years in a row, 2018 and 2019. So 2 years in a row she had a perfect score in the Senate, and Senator Harris has voted consistently to the left of Bernie Sanders. She is, for all intents and purposes, a socialist, even if she doesn't say so. Bernie is kind of a really honest guy. He opens his mouth and he tells everyone what he's thinking. And the word socialist for a lot of people is just a dirty word. It's just a swear word. If you say I am a socialist, they just won't vote for you. Whereas you can have a totally even more extreme or more socialist voting record. As long as you don't say I am a socialist, people will vote for you. And what else do we know? What else do we know about Kamala Harris? We know that she was a business partner. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. A socialist ventures into business. She must be a capitalist, right? Wrong. she she had a business venture with the Bidens, believe it or not. She and the Bidens had a business venture. This was a few years back, I think. And so they've actually been friends. Even when she was attacking him viciously, they were still friends. And the Bidens, and it was the Biden family, and Kamala Harris, and a few other Congress Democrats that were rather extreme congressional Democrats were in on this deal. And it was a deal with the Chinese. It was a deal with a Chinese company or corporation. And wasn't wasn't because China needed the deal. They didn't need the deal. Wasn't the best deal ever. Was just a means of influencing our politics, influencing our public opinion. It was actually a means for the Chinese to funnel a bunch of money to these candidates. And like Trump said, Biden received about 750 million, and we don't know how much Kamala Harris received, but that's a lot of money for an individual to receive. So we know the Chinese have been trying to influence our elections, and I question how impartial either Biden or Harris could be toward the Chinese. How impartial could they be? How unbiased can they be? How much on the side of America can they be when the Chinese have bought their influence? And this is something really serious. I think you should think about that for a moment. Just think about like what China has been doing. You can see that in my other videos. Think about what China's been doing, and then think about the Bidens and the Harrises being influenced, and their loyalty bought by the Chinese, and what they will do once they're in office. Just think about it for a second. Okay, so Biden said there was going to be a dark winter. Those were his words. A dark winter is coming. It's a dark winter. People thought he was talking about coronavirus. People thought he was talking about coronavirus. But he either slipped up, or it was the kind of seeding of the minds that the elite like to do to the common man. It's their way of thumbing their nose at you and basically saying, we're powerful, we're in charge, there's nothing you can do to stop us, there's nothing different you can do, a dark winter is coming, we did it, we instigated it, we made it happen, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. There's nothing you can do to stop the dark winter from arriving. We did it. It's kind of like when people at a scene of a crime spray the blood of their victim on the wall, and then they leave a calling card, they leave a business card or a little tag, something that shows that they were there and that they did it. It's a calling card. Dark winter is a calling card, and it was left by Biden in service of his masters, the elites. So it's kind of thinking about the dark winter is scary, but that's what they want us to do. They want us to scare us. They want us to panic. Kamala Harris, Goddess bless her. May she live a very long life. Hope she lives a long life. She does not belong in America, and she does not have any business being the President of the United States. This job, President of the United States, is, in fact, the most dangerous job on earth. It's the most dangerous job in the world. Lincoln and Kennedy showed us that it can be the most dangerous job in the world, and also Reagan, too. It's a very dangerous job. It's so dangerous. And I think that if Kamala Harris were president, she'd be in terrible danger. She'd just be in terrible danger. And I think she should move to China. That's where she belongs. Why do I think she belongs in China? Well, take a look at what she did as a judge. She sentenced young men, many of them African American or Latino, to very, very harsh sentences. Very harsh sentences. It was like she was sending them to the gulag. And if she were president, she'd be sending you to the gulag too. Somebody who's so ultra liberal, who also is so harsh in her judgments of others. That is classic textbook definition of communism. She's actually, if you look at both her record as a judge and her voting record in the Senate, you can see she's a communist, and she ideologically, and she really belongs in Russia, or Russia isn't. Well, they are communists, but they kind of hide it. They don't have the communist economy anymore. She belongs in China, and they would like her to. They think she's more useful here. They'd like her to stay here, but she really belongs there. She'd be safer there if she were in China, because Kamala Harris is opposed to every single principle this country was founded upon. She's against freedom of speech. If she is really a communist, which is very, very likely, if she's a communist and she's opposed to freedom of religion, and she wouldn't take away our freedom of religion. She might take away freedom of speech, but she won't take away freedom of religion just at first. But she may invite in the Chinese, and the Chinese may take away our freedom of religion. That's the first thing they'll take away, is our freedom of religion. They'll send us to re-education camps. They'll send all the Chinese people over here to work in the re-education camps. Will be tortured. The whole world population will be tortured by their new Chinese masters, if they succeed, which they won't. But if they succeed, will be tortured. Will be put in re-education camps and tortured. Now would be a very bad time to give up any guns you may have, because you may need them if the Chinese come to our shores. You may have to fight. You might have to join like the National Guard or the military and bring your weapon with you. Bring your own gun and consign and fight them on land. There probably would be a nuclear war, so a lot of the cities would be gone, but you can still fight. And it's a sad thing. It's a very sad thing thinking that it is possible that Kamala Harris could be a turncoat. It is sad to consider the possibility. I didn't say she was. She hasn't done anything yet. She hasn't proven herself yet. But it is a strong possibility, and it is in the realm of possibility that she would not defend America, or that she'd be weak on the Chinese, or that she'd even invite them in. She'd just get a bloodless coup, turn over the U.S. government to China without a fight. But then once the Chinese actually came here to start retraining everyone, we'd have to fight. And it's not nice. It's not nice. It's not a nice thing to do. And for those of you who have never, who didn't live through, who weren't even alive in the 80s, those of you who were never alive in the 80s or the 70s or the 60s, those of you who haven't seen communism in action or heard about communism, don't even know, it just sounds something that sounds so cool, and you adopted it and you picked it up and you thought it was great, it sounded great, and you thought, wow, this is great. There has never been, I'll be honest with you, communism says that all property should be owned in common. And there has never been a country on the face of this earth who's ever made good on the communist promise of no property rights. Because if they did, people would riot. People would throw a riot and they'd overthrow the government instantly. So a principle of communism is all property in common, but they still allowed you to own your own private property when you were in Russia. You didn't necessarily have a choice of where to live, but of the property, as far as property, you were allowed to own household goods because that was kind of necessary just to function. But if communism is instituted, government can come into your home and they could point to, like, say, they're not interested really in your Xbox or even your TV set, but they might point at your cupboard, say, we need that. Take all your foodstuffs, redistribute it like Robin Hood to everybody. So nobody really has enough to eat. Nobody can really survive because nobody really has enough to eat, but everybody's getting a little bit of your food. They could do that under communism. What's another thing we could do under communism? Well, they could do that under wartime powers too. That's another thing to be worried about, is wartime powers. But another thing they could do, so all of that food you've been stockpiling might go straight to the government. Another thing they can do is like make you wait in line for 12 hours straight. Make you wait in line in a line that's several miles long for a roll of toilet paper, and that one roll of toilet paper has to last a family of four for a whole month, and it's one per family. So even if you have a really large family, the roll of toilet paper has to last everyone for 1 month. Another thing they can do is put a limit on the number of children you can have. They can limit you to a family of... they could limit you to a nuclear family where you can only have 2 kids, or in China they limited people to just having 1 child, and their population plummeted. It went down. So, and there was 0 population growth for a while. And then they had fewer workers. And because people could only have 1 child, they all preferred to have a boy. So there were a lot of abortions, and then the population really tanked. They actually had negative population growth, and they had no workers to work in their government factories, which proved to be very lucrative to the Chinese. So they've changed it now where you can have 2 children, but they're still controlling the number of children you can have, but now they allow 2. And they state-run religion, either state-run and state-controlled religion, or no religion at all. No religion at all. Which China has done, Russia has done, other communist countries have done, where they banned all religion. What's another thing they could do? They could take money away. I think this was a really great idea, where you work and they give you a card. The card has credits. Credits for food, credits for household goods. And they decide what you can spend it on, whether you can spend it on food or household goods. Very, very much like food stamps and cash assistance. Food stamps and cash assistance is very much like that. Tell you a little story from today. Went to the store. I have food stamps. I was going to pay with food stamps, and I did all my shopping. Took me over an hour. Picked all my things very carefully, all the things I wanted. Got to the front of the store. Their system was down. Their computer system was down. They were not accepting food stamps at all. They said, why don't we hold your food for you? And some of it was frozen stuff, okay? So why don't we hold your food for you for a couple of hours? Then you can come back and try again and see, maybe it'll be up by then. Maybe it'll be working, and maybe you can take your stuff home. It's like, no thank you. No thank you. I'll try a different store. You too can experience the joy of that experience if it's food stamps and household good credits for everyone. You too can experience this joy. And think about it. government-sponsored video games. Would you like that? Government-sponsored video games, like a communist government decides what's appropriate for you in the way of video games. They won't cater to your tastes anymore. There won't be any shooter games. You can forget first-person or third-person shooters. You can forget magical elves with swords. You can forget all of that. All the interesting things you liked about video games. Think about the government controlling your video games and the content of your video games. And there might not even be any video games anymore, but you might be allowed one video game per year per family. And as the government decides what video game it's going to be, it's one video game for everyone. How would you like that? No more video games. No more Xboxes. No more cell phones. No more laptops except for doing homeschooling in the new coronavirus world. And they'll keep coronavirus going forever and ever. They'll just say, well, the vaccine doesn't work too well, and it's socialized medicine, so we really can't find a cure for coronavirus. So masks forever, social distancing forever, and homeschooling. Not real homeschooling, but you know what I'm saying. Real school from home forever. They were lucky they got the internet up before all this occurred, because they didn't have all the systems in place and feed off of capitalism to create the internet. But they're going to have service problems later on when the system starts breaking down. But they've got all the infrastructure in place for now, which is really neat. Now they can actually have communism and thrive for a while. Think about that. But thanks to capitalism, right? No more cell phones. No more laptops except one laptop per family for schooling. No more video games. No more Alexa. No more turning your electricity on and off whenever you feel like it. No more gas guzzler cars. No more classic cars. No more, you'll probably have an electric car. No more 65-inch screen TVs. No more electric shavers. Maybe they won't even have electric shavers. Maybe you won't even be able to get toenail clippers. There'll be no more anything. And the whole world will be workers. And there'll be no managers. There'll be no managers except government guys. They'll allow certain privileged people to be government guys, and they'll be your supervisors. But you won't be able to get a job, basically. And any dissenters, any political dissenters will be rounded up and put in internment camps. Like me, I'll be put in an internment camp. So you can say goodbye to me now. Go ahead and leave a comment saying goodbye there. And that's all going to happen. That's all going to happen if Biden-Harris ticket wins. Because they've been bought. They've been bought by China. Now do you see why I say that they really don't belong in here in America? They don't belong here at all. They belong in China. And they've already been bought, paid for by the Chinese. Be incredibly dangerous, but especially dangerous for Harris to be president, because they're against all the principles this country stands for, and they'll be in danger. It won't be because of me. It won't be because a million people watched my videos. It won't be my fault. It'll be because the news gets around. News gets around. Some extremist may come after them. So there's no way you can stop the horror from happening except to vote. That's the only thing you can do is vote. You can't stop this from happening. I suppose if you were a lifelong sworn Democrat, and maybe even a extreme radical Democrat, you could choose to join Secret Service, become president's personal bodyguards swear to defend them to the death for the rest of your life. But other than that, I really can't think of any way you could protect them. You really can't prevent it from happening, and you can't protect them by voting for them for sure. All you can do is vote against them. All you can do is vote against them. So our alternatives are giving up capitalism, giving up our American way of life, all the things we love that make our lives better, freedom to make money, freedom to be a professional and excel. Because in Russia, if you look at 1980s Russia, it was the USSR, doctors made only a modest amount more than the average worker. Everyone made practically the same wages. Paid the doctors more just to give them an incentive to become a doctor, but it wasn't that much more. There was very little incentive to become a doctor because you made barely more than your patients, and your patients were just workers. So there was very little incentive to do anything in USSR. And look at what happened to Venezuela. Venezuela is a total mess. It's a total mess. Venezuela, people are fleeing there right now. They've actually had civil war in Venezuela because of a lack of goods, a lack of basic necessities. People were starving to death. They rioted. People are fleeing the country in droves, shooting everyone. Venezuela has just gone down the tubes. It's because they persisted in communism. And now communism has come to our shores, and these young people are so naive. I've never met a generation before that was so naive. They think communism is great. They think it's great, and they're adopting it. The thing is, the droogs. I don't know if you've ever heard this term, the droogs, before. The droogs will all go out, and the droogs will vote for Biden-Harris. And who they really are voting for is Harris, because Biden's not doing well physically. His physician gives him thumbs up, but that's his personal physician. He's bought and paid for also, and he'll say anything. He'll say personal physician will say anything that Biden wants him to. Biden's not doing so hot. He may have Alzheimer's. And once they get the symptoms of Alzheimer's, they go downhill very quickly. It could be Harris in charge. Pelosi was trying to pass a law recently that really wasn't directed at Trump. Everyone thought it was directed at Trump, but it was really for Biden. If Biden becomes mentally crippled, they want him out. They want him out of office while he's still alive. And President Harris installed it. Pelosi was trying to do this. It was an amendment. It was the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. She was trying to amend the Constitution, which is scary enough as it is. They also want to amend the Constitution to put more judges on Supreme Court, and they won't admit to it. It's just something that's lying in wait, that they're secretly biding their time. Biden, his time, that sort of thing. They won't answer that question. But they're thinking about it. They're thinking about stacking the court. And everyone on both sides has been trying to throttle the will of the people through the court. So, which isn't, both parties are playing dirty. It's not nice. But what's going to happen? What's going to happen with these droogs? The droogs will go out. The droogs don't know any better. They're just schmoes. You know what a schmo is. Now they call people they consider schmoes Karens, but it's basically schmoes that invented the word Karen. So don't even use that word. Don't use Karen. That's somebody's name. Don't use the name Karen for a woman you don't like. So mean. But these schmoes invented this thing, Karen. So these droogs are basically schmoes. They're know-nothings. They're good for nothings. They're going to go, these droogs are going to go, and they're going to automatically vote for Biden-Harris ticket. And they're really voting for Harris for president. What will be the result for the droogs? It'll be the old-time violence. The old-time violence. And it won't just be their opponents, it'll be them. It'll be the droogs. Will be engaging in the old-time violence. Maybe not at first. Maybe they'll be happy with Biden-Harris, but a few years down the line, you're going to see the old-time violence. Go ahead and look up droogs. I'll give you the idea, or look up old-time violence. You'll see what I'm talking about. So that's it. President Harris, President Kamala. Not a good idea. Love Kamala Harris. Wouldn't want to see any harm come to her at all. Only way to protect her from harm is from all harm is to not vote for her, because president is the most dangerous job on earth, and she doesn't have the people behind her at all. She really doesn't. She's against the principles this country stands for, and she shouldn't be president of the United States. She shouldn't. Take care, everyone. Do not forget to vote. If you haven't voted yet, vote now. And if it's too late to turn in a ballot by mail, don't trust those ballot boxes. Don't go to a ballot box, because there's a guy recently trying to set a ballot box on fire. They'll just lose your ballot if you go to a ballot box. And the Democrats were saying this was great, these ballot boxes. Go instead to a polling place. They've got your name. If you live there, they've got your name. And you can even register to vote right on the spot if you've got all your ID with you. But they've got your name, and you can vote at the polls. It's fine. They'll be making everyone practice social distancing. They'll be spacing people apart. So you've got a fighting chance of surviving. You do have a fighting chance of surviving if you go to the polls. Just wear a mask. Wear a couple of masks, or maybe 3 masks. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. And so don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. Vote for the candidate you think is best. And I'll see you next time.